I'd like to tell you about Tim's worst trip ever. Right after the college exams were over, he wanted to surprise his girlfriend with a runaway adventure um, to Las Vegas. And they decided to go there by car. It would be just a five-hour drive. So what possibly could go wrong? It was the first time when they traveled together, and he was the one who was driving, and she was the one who was acting like his navigator. She planned their route carefully in advance, and even though he knew the road, he pretended to follow her directions. And besides, he had GPS in his car, so there was no way for them to get lost. There were some fun places that they wanted to check out on their way, such as Mormon Rocks and Route 66 Museum, so they included them into their road trip. Soon after their setting off, they got flat tire, and it took them 1 hour and a couple of greasy hands to fix it. And soon they set off again. At that point, they were getting a little bit hungry, and they stopped at a roadside cafe, and they parked at the parking lot, left the car at the parking lot. They ordered some tacos, French fries, a Coke, and Kathy had today's special. The food didn't taste very good, but at least it was fresh and hot. And also they took some sandwiches from their takeout menu, as there was a long way ahead. They left some tips to the waitress and left the cafe. As they were heading back to the car, Tim realized with a surge of panic that he had left the car unlocked, and so the car had been broken into, and some things were stolen: his Kathy's wallet, his iPod, and a pair of sneakers. Who would need a pair of sneakers? Who on earth would need a pair of sneakers? And of course, the thief was nowhere to be seen. They sat back into the car in a depressed state of silence, and as if getting robbed wasn't bad enough, 50 miles later, Tim felt an intense pain in his stomach, and it wasn't just him. Kathy felt nauseous, and she was about to throw up. Symptoms suggested food poisoning, and they took some pills from the first aid kit. And Kathy didn't want to go to Las Vegas anymore, and Tim wouldn't mind being near a bathroom, just in case. Busy as they were, they didn't notice that the car was running out of gas, and they were in the middle of a desert with no fuel, and GPS showed that there weren't any gas stations nearby, and they were in the middle of the desert with no fuel and no hope. They were sitting at the roadside, and a huge cargo truck was passing by. At the sign of human presence, Kathy waved her arms like crazy. The guy from the truck was very helpful. He lent them some fuel, and they could make it to the nearest gas station, and they found a place to refill their tank. At a certain point, Kathy lost her patience and started yelling at Tim. She said that she should have gone to her friend's party. Instead, she was yelling that Tim ruined her weekend. They got into a fight, blaming each other. And in the end, she turned away, staring at the window with a blank look on her face. As it was getting late, they were fed up with their getaway adventure. They agreed to spend the night in a motel. So the first motel they tried was fully booked. And just when he thought that the day couldn't get any worse, he bumped into someone's car while he was pulling up to the next motel, and it was just few scratches on the bumper, but as an honest man, he left a $50 bill under his windshield wiper blade to pay for the damage. They walked into the hotel and went to the receptionist, and the double room was available with breakfast included, but he would pass on that one because the mere thought of food made him stick to his stomach. The room was cold and smelled like an old carpet and cigarette smoke, and something was wrong with the heating. So he got the extra blanket and pulled it on his head and fell asleep. He didn't care anymore. The next morning they checked out and went back home, and Kathy never called him again.